Today we're looking at a book called One Little Tree by a lady named Marta Alexandrovna Almedingen. Almedingen, her English last name, I think she married English, but she was Russian. She actually was born in Russia. She fled during the Soviet takeover of Russia in 1922, I think. She fled a little after, but she lived through it, World War I. In Russia, she fled to England, where she ended up residing, the author. And she wrote about Russia. She wrote many stories, many fiction stories, many retellings of stories. She wrote biographies of people. She wrote a lot, this lady, Almedingen. And she wrote One Little Tree, and it's called A Christmas Card of a Finnish Landscape. So Finland is right next to Russia. And in World War I, by the way, for a long time, Finland was a province of Russia. I forgot what they called it, like the Duchy of Finland or something, I'm not sure. But they were controlled by Russia for a long time, hundreds of years. Before that, they were controlled by Sweden. And they broke away from Sweden when Russia took them over. And then during World War I, whenever the Soviets set up their revolution and overtook Russia, Finland broke away from Russia and gained their independence for the first time in history. In human history, the Finns were for the Finns, finally. So there's a lot of Finnish nationalist literature, poetry, all kinds of things, like the Kalevala, which I read to the kids a while back. There's other books. There's a book by a guy named Elias Simojoki, a bunch of his speeches. He was a famous orator and leader during this time in Finland for Finnish nationalism.
So we're talking only 100 years ago.
Yeah, 100 years ago. Yep. And they broke away during World War I or just after it. As it was ending, they broke away from them because Russia had its hands full, or the Soviets had their hands full with their own revolution. And this story is set on the border of Finland and Russia, on the border. And the border is important because the story here, this is a Christmas story. It's of a young boy named Arnie. He lives with his sister Kesti, his dog Beaky, and his sister has a doll named Titi, and it's very sweet. I'll tell you about that in a bit though. And his mother, Anna, and his father, Nils. Nils is their name. And they live on the border of Finland and Russia. Sometimes people call that area Karelia, or just the border area, Karelia. During this war, the Russians set up this border on the edge of Finland, so you can't come over here anymore. Well, Nils was a logger. He was a timberman. And he would go and cut down trees and bring them to the mill at this other guy. He would go into the woods, into the forest. They call it the frontier. Basically this zone between the two countries. And it was normally open. Anybody can go. And in fact, there was a baroness in the story. I'm telling you the story here. There was a baroness who owned the land. And she allowed people to go during Christmas and go cut a tree down for their Christmas tree. That was her noblesse oblige, her largesse to the people. Go cut a tree down for free, no cost to anybody for your Christmas. Well, when the border was shut down, no more Christmas trees. The Russians now control, actually the Soviets now control the border, and you can't go. And so the story is about how Arnie promised his sister Kesti that we will have a Christmas tree. And Kesti doesn't know what's going on. She's too young, but Arnie is a little older. By older, he may be just like 10 years old or something. And she is like 5. She's old enough, by the way, to carry this little doll around. I mentioned that, Titi. So Kesti carries this little doll with her, and she puts her own thoughts and feelings into the doll. So she says, TT doesn't want to go outside, it's cold. Or TT doesn't mind if we have another biscuit, something like that. She'll say that throughout the whole story.
TT is sad.
TT's sad, yeah. TT's not tired, she wants to stay by the fire. And so she has this way of talking about her doll that's very childish, but also very imaginative. And so Arnie, her older brother, he wrestles with being a good brother to her and being too harsh to her. And this is kind of where the Finnish-Russian nature of things comes out in this story, because I've read some Finnish literature. I read the Kalevala, as I mentioned, which is basically like their massive epic. It's like their Iliad or something, even though it's not all about war. It's their foundational Greek and Roman myth tales about how everything came about. But there's this harsh reality to it that you don't find in English, French mythology. Like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, for instance. There's some harsh stuff in it, but everything turns out well. Everything doesn't turn out well in other stories. Or people give in to despair a little too far. Or they're harsh and cold to each other a little too far. He mistreats his sister a few times. He goes too far. In this book, he calls her stupid. He tells her to shut up. He makes her cry a few times, but he always regrets it. This is the thing. He always thinks, I shouldn't have done that to my sister.
And makes up.
And he makes up for it.
Yeah, he doesn't like explicitly say, I'm sorry, but he'll treat her nicely or give her something special to kind of smooth things over.
He will. And he fought a guy for her because this other kid came along and started taunting her, and he got into a fight with him. And the way they looked at it back then, this was written in 1940s, I think, but it was about the 19-teens. The way they looked at it back then was, good for you. He deserved it. You should have fought.
Well, I love the lead up to that scene in the book, because you see like, it's the boy that they don't get along with at school.
Yeah.
And the scene kind of grows, it builds. And it's to the point where if he didn't fight him, I would have been disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he needed to be fought.
Right.
Because bullies need that. You know, if he hadn't fought, he would have just created a bully.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, he put him in his place.
Yeah.
That's right. So there are different values and ethics and a system of morals here that may challenge or cause children and adults who read this story to think a little bit about our own value systems and morals and ethics, because today we don't like kids fighting. Oh, no, that's not right. But in this story, you feel that it's right and he ought to have done that.
It was just.
It was just. And other things too happen in the story. But I was talking about sort of a darker tone here. So there are times when, like when the border is shut down and the father can't go cut trees anymore, he's not getting paid, and they start to go hungry. And everything is dismal in the house. And that goes on for a few chapters where it's just dismal.
I read it just in one sitting. And so maybe it wasn't as drawn out, the dismalness, because to me, that really didn't overwhelm.
Yeah.
Like as I read the story.
Well, you like Russian novels, though.
You know, I am reading Crime and Punishment right now.
You punish yourself by reading Crime and Punishment.
That could be why. I'm reading it for pleasure.
Yeah, I don't know what pleasure you derive from Dostoevsky.
I don't know. I really
800 pages of... Go ahead.
I didn't find it very dismal.
Okay.
And I feel like it moves on enough, and Arnie has enough hope. Like the Christmas tree. That's what I love about the story.
Yeah.
Is it's the Christmas tree that keeps him alive.
Right.
Keeps his hope alive, his spirits up.
So let's talk about that. So you're making a good point. I read it with the children about 2 or 3 chapters a night to sort of draw it out over a few nights. If you read it in one sitting, it could go faster. It is less than 100 pages. I think it's 89 or 90 pages or something total. And they're not huge. You know, there's actually paintings or drawings that kind of take up some of the pages, not all, just a few of them. So it's a really good book. The kids love it. And the kids didn't have any problem with it. So I may be talking about how it's too dismal. I thought it was kind of dismal, though, to me for a children's book. But if you read it in one sitting, it could be better.
Think of A Little Princess. Like, that gets really rough for Sarah, and that goes on for chapters.
Yeah.
You know, for a bulk of the book. And so I feel like children, they can handle this kind of thing. I think it's all right.
Yeah, they can definitely handle it. I just think it's interesting, though. I guess the main point I was trying to make is not that it was dismal, it's that it had a different flavor than children's books written by English people.
Yes, that's very true. There's a sense in which there's a strangeness.
Yeah.
Because it's not familiar. It's not Western European.
Right.
So it's strange in that sense, but it's also familiar because it is European and it is Christian. So I feel like it is all mixed up in there very nicely.
I feel like if you've ever been to Disney World, there are some rides, most of the rides that you get on, and they'll take you through this scene in the ride, and some like Pirates of the Caribbean ride. You can get in a car laying a little rail thing, and it'll take you through and you go through different scenes in Pirates of the Caribbean. The dog with the keys and the people behind the prison bars reaching for it and all that. And you go through these scenes and it feels like, oh, this is scary, but we're on a ride and we're just passing through. Ooh, and then we get out of that into something better. I feel like that's what it's like to read English or French or American children's stories. Like Harry Potter or something. You encounter danger. Oh no, the basilisk in the cave underground. How's Harry going to get out of this one? And he does. You know what I mean? There's no actually like real gloom and despair. Whereas in this one, it kind of does more seriously weigh that. And it's not so much you're bumping along in this kind of fake scary tale or gloomy tale. You feel that here. However, there's really good things in this story. It's not all gloom and doom. It's not even half all gloom and doom. He promises his sister that they're going to have a Christmas tree, but the border gets shut down and you can't go across the border to get the trees now. So there's a dilemma. How's he going to do that? And he wrestles with this throughout the novel. He says, I told my sister a lie. I told her a promise I knew I couldn't keep. How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And Kesty the whole time has no idea.
And she has faith in her brother. She never doubts that he will bring home a Christmas tree.
Never doubts it because he doesn't lie.
Right. He keeps his word.
Yeah.
Even the teacher at school knows that. Arnie keeps his word.
Yeah. So he wins a prize at school, by the way, for geography. He wins a book, a colored picture book, which back then was very, very important and expensive, and he wins it. But then he thinks, because my family can't afford food, I'm thinking about selling it. So that's how selfless he was. He was going to win this book and he was going to sell it for his family's sake because there's no work and they don't have anything. They're going to sell it. The thing is too, his mom was about to sell the Christmas ornaments. So she had a box out and Arnie saw it and said, what are you doing with that, Mom? And she didn't want to say, and she forgot that the box was out. She says, I'm going to go to town and see if someone will take these because we need, and he's like, never. You cannot sell those. I'll sell my book first. That's how serious he took the Christmas tree. Now here's what's important about the Christmas tree for the Finns. It's not just this nice, pretty thing. It actually has meaning. And the meaning is, at least from Arnie's perspective, I don't know if this is every single Finnish person or Finnish culture generally, but Arnie thought that the tree with the star on top signals where the child, capital C, child, is to come. So if we don't have the tree, we can't put the star up. And if we can't do that, then the child won't visit us this year. It's kind of like Ellen's America, the Swedes, and they had that tomt. The tomt isn't here. If you don't sweep the hearth, the tomt won't show up or he'll leave. And you can't have him go away because the tomt is like this little gnome thing that brings good luck to the family or something. And I don't think they really believed in it. It's kind of like Santa Claus riding his sleigh. It's more of a thing that the children believed. But this is something with the child. The child won't show up now. The Christ child.
There's a little part here. I'll read it. It says, Arnie had never met the Baroness. He had no idea where she lived, but he felt that he knew her well because of that annual excursion to the woods she owned. And he knew, too, that a Christmas without a tree would hardly be like a real Christmas. A large gilt star fixed to the very tip of the top frond meant the coming of the child. What would Christmas be unless the child came into the house? Arnie could not even imagine it. So that's why the tree was so important. It's not Christmas without the tree.
Yeah.
It's not Christmas unless the child comes.
Right.
And it's all tied together.
Yeah, it's not Christmas unless Christ come into the world. And you can't have that if you don't have the tree and the star guiding the way.
Right.
Star at the top. And so to him, this was sacrilege for it not to happen. This is impossible for it not to happen. We must have a tree. And so he's determined to go get a tree.
So it does also say that his parents, or at least his mother, had tried to explain to him that you can still have Christmas without a tree, but he was like, hogwash. That doesn't make sense, you know? And at the beginning of the book, he's almost tempted to tell his sister that because he realizes we're not going to have a tree this year. And she comes and asks him, well, won't we have a tree? Or somehow it comes up. And for a moment, he wants to tell her that truth. Like, well, you can still have Christmas without the tree, you know, but he can't do it. He's like, that would be worse than hitting her. And he won't. And he's like, I'll get you a tree.
Yeah. Yeah, so he promises to get a tree. I want to circle back to the Russians for a second, because again, every single book you will ever read as an American English speaker about World War I is going to be about American troops or English troops like Winnie the Pooh or something, the finding of Winnie the Pooh and taking him over there, and it's all a bunch of good old guys fighting those nasty Germans. That's all you'll ever read. You'll never read any other perspective until you get a book like this, which is not Russian, it's not German or American or English or French, it's Finnish and Russian, and it's sort of a critique of Russia, written by a woman who lived in Russia. The critique, and this is from Arnie's perspective, he says this in the book, why are these people blocking off the frontier? We have never done them any wrong. We've not done them any wrong. Why are these men doing this? This is crazy. I don't understand this. My father needs this wood to live. We need this wood to live. And there's a point in the book where he goes to try to get a tree. And when he does, he comes up on a hill and he sees the town of Bieloostrov or something like that in Reno, 2 different towns. And he sees, set up a border there, but not here in the forest where country people make their living. Why are you out here? So he has this criticism from a child's perspective, but I think it resonates in everybody's minds and hearts. Like, why are we all involved in these big, huge political disputes that you people are clearly having, not us? We're trying to live in peace. There's a frontier between us and them, but you know, we're not at odds with each other. And it's the Baroness's woods to begin with, and we have Christmas to look after in our families. So it is a critique of the Soviets, I think, but it's a mild critique from the standpoint of a child. Why would you encroach upon Finland? We've not done you any harm. We've not done anything. You guys are callous. And when Arnie actually goes to get a tree, so in the story, spoilers from here on, so if you don't want to listen anymore, go read the book. It's a great book. Almedingen, E.M. Almedingen, has written many other books. So many, I can't list them all. She's written The Treasure of Siegfried. She's written The Knights of the Golden Table, The Story of Gudrun, which sounds interesting.
Yeah, I want to get that one.
The Story of Gudrun, which is still for sale. Some of these are not for sale anymore, or you just have to find them. But that one's for sale. She lectured at Oxford, the Royal Society of Literature. She's written autobiography called Tomorrow Will Come. She wrote a biography called The Romanovs. Anyway, spoilers from here on. So Arnie goes into the woods. He's thinking, I'm going to go get a tree, and I'm going to do it by myself and not tell anyone. He takes a sled. He goes into the frontier. And on his way, he doesn't see anyone. And he eventually comes to a tree that he likes, and he starts to cut it down. And as that happens, he feels a hand on his shoulder, and a rough voice speaks, "What are you doing here? What is this?" And it's a Russian. And he says, "Look what I found. Look what I caught in my nets." And he takes the kid and brings him into this hut that these men have built out there to kind of guard the frontier. And it's a guy named Aleshkov or something and Petro or something like that. And
I think it's Petka and Aleshka.
Okay, Petka and Aleshka. Petka is very harsh. He's very harsh. Aleshka is also harsh, but he softens eventually. And this is the amazing thing. The author paints these Russians as initially these skeptic, atheist, unbelieving. Now, she doesn't say atheist, but clearly they don't believe anything is special. Like, it's the day before Christmas Eve, I think. So it's clearly Christmas time. This is a 10-year-old boy who's crying, and he's tired, and his clothes are cut up now because he's been struggling through the snow in the woods. He's clearly cut down a tree that's probably 7 foot tall. Because they catch him, what, like 8 foot tall?
I think they say in the book it was about 4 or 5.
Oh, 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. Okay. He cut down a very small tree, And they catch him and go, "What are you doing?" And he tells them, "My dad is who are you? Where are you from? Who's your dad?" And he tells them, "My dad's a timber." And they're like, "Oh, you're here to cut down trees, are you? You're going to steal our tree?" He's a boy with a sled and a 4-foot tree.
And a knife.
And a knife.
Yeah.
He has a knife, not even a hatchet. A 4-foot tree in the middle of the night, 2 days before Christmas. What do you think he's doing?
Right.
But these unbelieving, atheist Soviet men will not let it go. And they ask him, "What are you doing with this tree then if it's not for your dad's timber mill?" They think his dad has the timber mill. And he starts to explain, and he tells them the whole story of the child. He preaches the gospel to them, essentially. Now, the story doesn't go through the whole gospel story. It just says that he did it. He told them all about the Christ child and the coming and the virgin birth and this and that. And both men sat and listened. But Petka was the one who was like, "And you believe all those tales? You believe that ridiculous stuff? You expect me to believe that?" But Aleshka says, "Kid, let's eat some food." He kind of doesn't disagree with it or agree with it, but you could tell he's softening. And the boy falls asleep. He wakes up. Petka has been dismissed from his duties because Petka wanted to, I don't know, maybe imprison this kid or torture him or hold him for ransom for his father. I don't know what he wanted to do, but it wasn't good. And Aleshka said that. He said, "I dismissed him." And Aleshka decides, "I'm going to help you. I'm going to send you home." He's not kind to the child. Like, he's rough with his words. It's still this roughness of, we're on the frontier. I have the authority to whatever and you are behind enemy lines. But I'm going to bring you home. Quit your snuffling. Let's go. And he goes outside, and there's a huge tree, a bigger tree that Aleshka cut down for him.
Yeah, they had kind of roughed up his tree.
They did.
His little tree. So he replaced it for him.
He replaced it. And he harnessed his sled to Aleshka's sled, which is bigger, and it had bells on it.
Yeah.
And he even said, "Darn it, I forgot to silence those bells. Oh, let's go anyway." So he pulls them. He's riding on a sleigh with a sleigh bell, potentially through the snow with this huge Christmas tree and this angry Russian Soviet soldier bringing him. And the Soviet went across the border.
Which he wasn't supposed to do.
He wasn't supposed to. He went across the border. And I forgot exactly what Aleshka said, but you could tell that the story of the child that came from Arnie, and Arnie was desperate, by the way. He'd been caught by the Russians. He had failed to keep his promise to Kesti. The Christ child's not going to come. He may die. So he gives this gospel story to these atheist Soviet soldiers in desperation, not to try to convince them that it was true. It just came out of him. And Aleshka was so moved by it that he reversed course entirely, fired or got rid of his associate, went out and cut another tree down, brought him home. And then I forgot the exact words he said at the end, but it was something like, that story moved me to do this. Now get out and go and never come back, never come to the border again. And he dropped the kid off by his home, near enough to it to run to it. And he turned around and got out of there really quickly, it said. So it's an amazing story, really, about Finland versus Russia, these innocent people. Now, I don't know the whole story, okay? There's no innocent side in conflicts when it's national stuff, okay? But an innocent people on the border being encroached upon by the Soviets, Christians versus atheists, Finns versus Russians, families versus single men in the border frontier, and a brother's promise to his sister and devotion to Christ, trying to save this family from not being visited by the Christ that winter. Now again, as Protestants, you may look at this and think, "Oh, I don't believe in the Christ child coming to every single home. That's ridiculous. I don't believe." Okay, well, the idea is that the spirit of Christ, Christmas, the symbol of it was so important to him. And everybody else. Everyone was sad that this wasn't going to happen. But it was so important to him that he was willing to sacrifice himself to keep his promise to his sister and for the sake of his devotion to Christ. He was willing to do this ridiculous thing that only a child would do. An adult would reason, well, in God's providence, the border is closed. And I'm just going to take that as a sign from God that we're just not going to have a Christmas tree this year. Arnie was, no. It must happen. And then when he gets caught, he's still the Christ child. You know, he's still preaching these guys, and they're like, one of them doesn't break, but he gets dismissed. And anyway, it's a pretty amazing story. It's inspiring. If you are lacking in the Christmas spirit this year, this one isn't all sleigh bells jingling, ring ding ding. You know, it's not really like in America, it's like, woohoo, I have a little funny hat on and I'm blowing a little thing and confetti and eggnog. That's Christmas. To this boy, it was life or death. We must have the Christmas tree. I'll sell my goods so that we don't sell the ornaments. Mm-hmm. That's how important it was for him and for his sister and for his sister's doll. TT. TT loves the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. At the beginning, though, I love how Arnie had this secret, and he really treasured his secrets. Mm-hmm. Those were very important to him. Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, this comes out with the Christmas tree later. He does it all in secret.
Yeah.
But to sort of set up for that, his sister's birthday is coming up, and he has a plan. He saved up his money to try to get some beads for her, but I forget what stops them. Oh, the closing of the frontier is what, because he had to go to that town.
The town is on the other side now of that border. Frontier.
And so he can't go and do this. And he is so disappointed. More because it was like it was his secret rather than actually his sister won't get them. But it was still precious to me. And he's talking with his mother about it. She comes to him. She sees he's disappointed. She comes to talk to him. And he tells her why he's sad that he won't be able to get his sister this gift. And what I really liked, what I appreciated about what his mother does there, she does not applaud him for his selflessness and wanting to do this for his sister. What I liked is that she took it for granted that he would want to be giving a gift to his sister. The selflessness in their family was just assumed, you know? And so her solution to this was to offer something of her own to give to Arnie for him to give to his sister. So the solution was another gift. I mean, not as good, but that was the solving of the problem. It wasn't, yay, Arnie, that was so kind of you. I'm so glad that you wanted. It's like, no, that was all assumed. Of course you would want to do that for your sister. This is what a good brother does. Right. And I really appreciated that. That's important. That's what's so great to read these books that are from different cultures or times than ours, even just a few decades ago, because they show you morality from a different angle, kindness from a brother to a sister during Christmas that just has a few tweaks to it. Like you're saying, it was expected that the brother work to save up money to buy. It wasn't expected though. I guess it was normal. It wasn't odd. It wasn't this amazing act of kindness. Right. It was like, yeah, this is something you should be doing. Of course. Right. Yeah, I think people tend to get carried away with praising children for very small things. And honestly, it has the opposite effect, because if you praise children for something that's barely even worth doing or barely even praiseworthy, it's redefining what value is. I try to get we have several daughters and then a son, who's the youngest. And the daughters often praise him for doing very, very small things. Yay, you did a good job. He stood up, he tied his shoes, he put his bowl back after he was finished. Threw away a dirty diaper. Right. And I think we need to stop praising for everything. There's that movie, Meet the Parents. Remember that? I'm sorry to bring it up. It's a funny movie. I don't know if it's wholesome with Ben Stiller, but they go to meet his parents. I won't repeat the name of that one, it's the sequel. But what's funny though is that they go into his house. His father, it's Ben Stiller, who's the son. Dennis Hoffman is the dad, and Barbara Streisand is the mom. Oh, wow. Yeah, so they go into his house, and it's completely different from her parents' house. Her parents are very type A, direct, executive kind of parents, logical, and it's all very tit for tat in their family. You're only praised if you do something praiseworthy, and you're criticized if you don't. Whereas in his family, everything you do is praised, everything is wonderful, and they go into this room of nostalgia from his youth. It's like a shrine. And there are these 9th place trophies and 10th place ribbons everywhere. He was the runner-up in the soccer tournament.
And none of it is first place. It's all second, fourth, 10th place, just everywhere. And like, we believe here in encouraging effort. And he was such a good trier. You know, you tried so well.
That hurts.
You know, yeah. That's what I think. Like, America, we are more in that direction than the other.
Yeah.
And the Russians here, or the Finns, at least 100 years ago, were of a different culture.
Yeah, but look at the character it builds. I mean, this boy, anyone would love to have this boy as their son or brother. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah. There are a few other incidents too. We've told the main plot of the story. I guess we'll just kind of talk about a few other things. There's the schoolhouse.
One thing I liked about the school was that he has to work. Again, he has to work and earn praise or earn a prize. And he has to try for it. And he does win the geography competition and he gets the book. And at that point, his mother praises him.
Yeah.
Which was good. He clearly earned it. He had
Excelled.
worked hard for months and he won.
Right.
And so his mother says, "I'm so proud of you." You know, that was a good way to honor her son. Oh, I wanted to include this. So this is another way that it makes it more of a Finnish book and character. There's a scene where Arnie and his sister Kesti are going to pick strawberries. I think they're like wild forest strawberries. And he says, Arnie is saying this to Kesti, "Can't you ever remember what I tell you? You must always leave one berry for the little people."
Yeah.
They use wood strawberries for their shoe buttons. They get angry if they can't find any. I did tell you that they run about so much that they always lose their shoe buttons. Kesti listened, her pink-stained mouth opened wide. "Have you seen them?" "Whom?" "Why, the little people." "I may have done," Arnie answered evasively, "but they're very small. It's easy to miss them." So there's a few things like that in the story that are very much not American.
Right.
It's a little glimpse into
They spice the story differently than we Americans are used to. Yeah. It's a nice story. It's a nice story. So nice that I'm glad that I read it to my children for Christmas, the Advent season. Actually, one of my daughters asked me to read it. She kept asking, and I thought, oh, it's a children's story about Christmas. I don't want to read it. But then we began reading it, and there was a gravity to it that pulled me in right away. And all the children, who have different tastes, by the way. They have different tastes in literature. Some of them don't like to read very much. Some of them do. They all wanted me to keep reading, more chapters. And I would like to buy more of this lady's writings. Just hearing her story is amazing in and of itself. She escaped Russia when it fell to Soviet Bolshevik communism. And then she left and began writing about it. And she wrote about it with nonfiction and with fiction. And many tales she retold also, so they're not just her making tales up. It seems a pretty prolific author to get into if you can find her books still today.
Yeah, I want to get the Gudrun one. But yeah, overall, I love that the whole book is motivated by a promise he made to his sister, which is even more important because it has to do with Christmas and the Christ child.
Right.
And it drives him to do the impossible. You know, it's basically, he moves heaven and earth to keep his word.
He does.
And to make Christmas happen.
He does. Yeah.